In today's video, in a shocking twist, the Portland Police Department is refusing to enforce the law. Secondly, things got explosive during RFK Jr.'s testimony on Capitol Hill. Finally, ICE has confirmed they are ramping up operations in the city of Chicago. You got to see how the governor reacts. In all these stories, we're going to show you what both sides are saying and then give you the bottom line.
Hundreds of residents in Portland are feeling like they're under siege. Their neighborhood turned into a battle zone nightly, and it all is because they happen to live next to an ICE facility.
Oh my God. Turn that down! It's midnight! We the people need sleep! Hey, what the
And what makes this even more frustrating for residents is that Portland police won't respond to noise complaints or even when assaults are witnessed.
I'm calling about the protesters. They cornered two women out here. They need help. They cornered them. Please send the cops.
Portland police have not made a single arrest since June 18th, despite a number of assaults. A protester hit one resident with a megaphone, then a fist. Despite the injuries, no arrest. One resident sued the city to force cops to enforce the laws. And this was uncovered during discovery. One officer telling another on the police radio, quote, "If it were not ICE, we could assist directly."
Let's take a moment to understand the full picture here. Essentially, what I am hearing is that the local police department in Portland is refusing to enforce the law because the protests that are obviously destroying property, being disruptive, is about protesting against ICE. And because it's about protesting against ICE, they're good with it. And this is what we've come to. Well, this is what the city of Portland has come to, and it's not going to lead to anywhere good.
The full-on abdication of police duty in a 4-block radius that impacts some of the most vulnerable Oregonians that we have. Now they've said, meh, we're just going to let violent rioters do this for 80 straight nights, and we don't care.
Portland police declined an interview but said in a statement, "We take these concerns seriously. At the same time, we are committed to protecting individuals' rights to express themselves peacefully." All this on top of 3 straight months of protests back in 2020, and this is having a big impact on the city's reputation, as you might expect. One national group now ranks Portland as the 2nd worst place in America to invest money. There's so much commercial vacancy right now that the top 20 office towers have lost 57% of their combined value in the last 5 years.
57% of the property value has decreased over the past few years because of vacancy. Meaning what? Results. Results show that allowing people to display this unhinged behavior without the police getting involved and also letting people destroy property and disrupt people's ability to operate a successful business or just simply go to work in that area, again, is not going to get the results that these people who are protesting really want to get. That's the interesting part about all this. You hate President Trump. Got it. Go ahead. That's your own prerogative. But you honestly think disrupting someone else's business, livelihood, is going to get you what you want? Absolutely confused.
No. Get off me! Get away from her!
Get off me!
You are predators! You are predators! I couldn't imagine being a fucking protest you! I'm not you'll be gone in 2 weeks! You are not up! You are fucking small! You're fucking bitches!
Yeah, so the bottom line here and why I wanted to show you these clips is because you're going to have your family members, your friends, some people you work with, and they're like, man, but why is President Trump doing this? And why is President Trump doing that? And they're not seeing stuff like this, right? They're only seeing one side. And it's the side that is clearly biased towards, or I would say against President Trump, right? They're probably watching CNN or listening to influencers on social media who, are just making a living bashing Trump. And they're not willing to say, hey, you know what? I see what other people are saying, but let's actually look at what they're doing. If we see what they are doing, clearly they're not interested in a solution here. Clearly they're not interested in working with the president to actually help their communities become safe.
All right, so let's hear from today's sponsor, Upside. Now, who doesn't like to make a little extra money from their everyday purchases? I almost treat this like it's a game. Whenever I'm at the gas station or my favorite restaurant, Chipotle, I'll scan my receipt and earn cash back by using the Upside app. Upside works with over 100,000 different gas stations, grocery stores, and restaurants like Chevron, 7-Eleven, Valero, Chipotle, and more. So if you do go to the grocery store, pump gas, or eat out every once in a while, you need to download the Upside app today. Now, I already told you guys I'm obsessed with Chipotle, and my wife, of course, uses it when she goes grocery shopping. Now, listen to this. Upside pays out over $1 million in cash back every week, and I want you to join in on that cash. So find out how much you can earn by clicking the link in the description below. Download the Upside app. Use code Darkins to get an extra 25 cents back for every gallon on your first tank of gas, or scan the QR code to claim your offer today.
Okay, so that actually takes us to our next story, and this is in regards to the city of Chicago. According to reports, ICE is not only ramping up operations, but they have gotten approval from the Department of Defense to use the local Navy base in the city of Chicago to house illegal aliens. And of course, the governor has something to say, including the pending, what he would call, invasion from National Guard troops. So what we're going to do is react to it all. Let's start here.
We know that some federal staff is already at the Great Lakes Naval Base north of Chicago, and Illinois Senators Tammy Duckworth and Dick Durbin are demanding that the Secretary of the Navy provide them with some information for how that base is going to be used. And then a meeting of North suburban leaders was told that some 300 federal agents are expected in Chicagoland. Now, the mayor of Broadview, a suburb to the west of Chicago, issued a letter stating that a building there will be used as primary processing facility for operations, which could last for 45 days, and law enforcement should be ready for protests, even destruction of property. Tom Homan, border czar under President Trump, argues that sanctuary policies pushed by Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson and Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker forced them to zero in on places like Chicago.
We're going to flood the zone. Sanctuary cities, I've said it 1,000 times, they're going to get exactly what they don't want: more agents in the communities and more worksite enforcement. Because they won't let us arrest a bad guy in the safety and security of a county jail, so more collateral arrests are going to occur in sanctuary cities because you forced us into the community.
Okay, let me just take a moment to talk about the obvious here. We are in a new studio. We've been spending time over the past couple of weeks building this from scratch. An amazing team helped me do it, by the way. But first I want to do is just give a big shout out to you, your family, whoever you recommended to the show. All of you have played a big part in making this show a success. And obviously, the person who's really behind all this is God and his good grace. And so I just want to give a big thank you and gratitude to you. And of course, if you want to support us, remember, you can like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Also, you can shop our merch store where we release new designs every single week. And you can also buy us a cup of coffee. So that's exactly my main rebuttal to people who continue to criticize President Trump's mass deportation operation, is that if you will spend that same energy to encourage your local leaders to hand over criminals to ICE agents, then ICE wouldn't feel the need to go down this road. But of course, they're not looking for compromise. They're not looking for collaboration. They're not looking to take any responsibility. They don't believe they are the problem, but they are the problem because they are the one initiating the conflict here. The federal government and ICE, they're doing exactly what the law allows them to do. And that's the interesting part about all of this. Now, here is what the governor, J.B. Pritzker, had to say just moments ago.
Can you update us on your understanding of what the operational plans are at this point? Do you still believe that the stepped-up ICE enforcement will go into effect this weekend?
Yes, it appears that they again are on the schedule that we had heard. Again, they have not communicated that full schedule to us, although there apparently were some conversations with the local North Chicago officials. Nothing official communication with the state. But yes, we believe that they are going to be fully assembled by tomorrow and then can begin operations after that. And again, we heard that that would begin early on Saturday morning, but it's possible, I suppose, that they might begin tomorrow.
Okay, so let's act like what he just said is true. Nobody reached out to him, etc. Well, here's the interesting thing. Even if they reached out to you, you would reject it anyway, like you've been doing. You still have yet to roll back sanctuary city policies in that state. And as a result, this is why Homeland Security posted this on X earlier today in response to the Washington Examiner post titled Chicago's Murder Toll Exceeds Iraq War Deaths. It's no surprise that violent criminals flock to sanctuary cities where politicians like J.B. Pritzker protect them. President Trump and Secretary Noem are restoring law and order across the nation to protect our homeland and save American lives. And yes, it is okay to criticize how they go about doing that. But what you can't criticize and what you shouldn't fight against is the effort that they are putting in. They have put their best foot forward. They're actually doing something about this. So instead of being on the sidelines and complaining and trying to fight against this, J.B. Pritzker and people like him should be a part of the solution. And obviously that should would exist in a perfect world.
Chicago saw over 51,000 migrants arrive since the summer of 2022. The watchdog group Illinois Public Policy estimates the state will spend over $2.5 billion on migrants by the end of 2025. Chicago Alderman Raymond Lopez, a Democrat, says Illinois leaders with sentiments for the migrant community are not sincere.
If we had addressed this by amending the Welcoming City Ordinance several months ago, we would not be in this position today, in my opinion. If we had shown a willingness to work with Donald Trump, Tom Homan, and Kristi Noem to say, look, we know you know where the high priority targets are. Let us help you when we arrest them. We'll let you know. I think we'd be in a very different spot than where we find ourselves today.
Okay, let's actually circle back on something we heard there. $2.5 billion is what the city of Chicago is going to spend on illegal aliens. Now, you would think that is a story, but the real story is when you compare it to other things they could be investing in. For an example, what about crime prevention? How much does the city of Chicago actually invest? $1.7 billion is what they pay for the police department. That still is not more than illegal aliens. And let's not get started on homeless veterans. That's peanuts compared to what they're spending on illegal aliens. So in my opinion, their priorities are wrong. And the other interesting thing here is that they're also wrong when it comes to crime. I mean, Chicago has two big issues on their hand. You could argue three, but let's just focus on two: immigration and crime. Now, on that subject of crime, here's what the governor said, that if the National Guard troops deploy to the city of Chicago, this is what he's going to do. Take a look.
We're going to immediately go to court. If National Guard or other military troops are deployed to the city of Chicago, immediately go to court. So that's going to be our first line of defense, is getting a court to issue a TRO or other injunction against that activity. There is no way for me to override. State law does not override federal law. So we have to abide by the law. We do that in the state of Illinois. We abide by the law. We abide by state law and federal law, unlike the President of the United States, who often acts in unconstitutional fashions. So we're going to do everything we can, again, to alleviate the challenge on the people of Chicago if, in fact, the president is trying to bring troops into Chicago, military troops. But you know, he has the ability to call in other outside agents and does not have a legal right to call in military troops, but we're going to have to act quickly and have a court act quickly in order to deter that.
It's just a shame that this is what we've come to as a country, where you have leaders openly denying the president's help as it pertains to keeping their people, the people they say that they are willing to protect, the people that got them elected in some cases, that they're willing to put their lives at risk because they don't want to work with the president. They have declined his help. It's really sad if you think about it. And I think it's the ultimate, or at least one of them, the ultimate indictments on the Democrat Party as a whole. They become so obsessed with President Trump, they have lost touch with reality. This is just one of those situations where it's a great example of that. Now, when I say reality, let's hear some people from Chicago once again rebuke exactly what the governor said. They're rebuking exactly what the mayor said. They even call him out for playing politics here instead of taking care of the people of Chicago. Take a look.
This is a mother of a girl murdered in Chicago who says she wants President Trump to come in and fix the city. Listen.
I would like the governor to ask for help because the things that's in place right now is not working. We scared to sit in our cars. We scared to have our kids walking to school.
I mean, we have residents like you on every single day who are saying, We want the governor to ask for help. We want the federal government to step in. So what more is it going to take?
I think it's going to take one of their own to actually suffer through, some of these things that we go through in Chicago. I actually challenged J.B. Pritzker and Brandon Johnson to actually walk the same streets that I walk here in Chicago. I mean, without the police detail, without the suits, of course. And we'll see if they have that same opinion when it comes to J.B. Pritzker saying that Chicago is safe. I feel like a lot of this is just virtue signaling when it comes to J.B. Pritzker. He think he's living rent-free in Donald Trump's head. I honestly think it's the other way around. And when it comes to Brandon Johnson and all of the race baiting and things like that, he tends to think that police are racist because, majority of police officers happen to be white Caucasian males. But
there's a difference between what is happening in front of a camera for political reasons and what's actually happening in reality. Now, that gentleman actually pointed out something that I find to be interesting about all of this. J.B. Pritzker and Mayor Brandon Johnson, they probably do believe that cops are racist. They probably would support legislation that would defund the police. Now, they know as a party, they can't go down that road again. Not right now, because it completely backfired on them. But if they had it their way, they would. And that's just unfortunate because there's no data, statistics, studies done to support the idea that police should be defunded. In fact, more police officers that are actually enforcing the law will cut down on crime. Key word, enforcing. Don't be like Portland, okay? But if you actually enforce the law, people think twice.
My question to my fellow Democrats is very simple. How much losing do we have to do until we get our act together? And starting with crime. Look, crime does not discriminate, does not look at color. And when I mean color, I'm talking about red for Republicans and blue for Democrats. If they're going to go out and kill you, they're going to go kill you, plain and simple. So this has to stop. And I got to say, I commend the president with what he's doing when it comes to crime. And I disagree with Trump in many things, by the way, but crime is not one of them. And we know that drug usage is connected to crime. So we see the countless amount of drugs that are coming in from Venezuela, right? And what the president is doing to stop that, to stop Nicolas Maduro, the king of the drug cartels in Latin America, it gives me great pride. And those are the type of things that we can collaborate with the president. When it comes to thugs, when it comes to people like Nicolas Maduro, when it comes to crime in D.C. and Chicago, you have to act fast and you have to act swiftly.
What you just heard there was from a Democrat who actually has some level of common sense. And, the whole goal of this show, by the way, is to help people critically think for themselves, right? That's why I show you guys both sides. And that's something that I know people on the left are unwilling to do, is they're not willing to see the other side of what they're raging against, in a sense, right? They're not willing to hear the stories of the victims of crime, the victims of illegal aliens who are committing crimes. They're not willing to do any of that because they're more distracted with hating one man, and that's President Trump. And I tell you guys all the time, that is a life lesson. If you make your whole life about one person and the emotion is hate, that means you're not thinking for yourself. You're a sheep. Okay, now let's go to our next story. Speaking of sheep, now we're going to Capitol Hill. RFK Jr. had to testify because obviously we know there were firings. There were people who walked out of CDC because he's been challenging the status quo. He's been challenging the establishment. He's been calling them out and exposing them for the lies so far. And of course, that led to a huge blow up during his testimony on Capitol Hill today. So let's start with this first clip.
Will you tell America that all adults and all children over 6 months of age are eligible to get a COVID booster at their local pharmacy today?
Anybody can get the booster.
I'm sorry?
Anybody can get it, Senator.
Anybody. So you're saying that is now the official rule of HHS. Anybody is eligible to get a booster by just walking into the pharmacy.
It's not recommended for healthy people.
No. If you don't recommend, then the consequence of that in many states is that you can't walk into a pharmacy and get one. It means insurance companies don't have to cover the $200 or so cost. As Senator Dr. Cassidy said, you are effectively denying people vaccines.
We're not going to recommend a product for which there's no clinical data for that indication. Is that what I should be doing?
What you should be doing is honoring your promise that you made when you were looking to get confirmed in this job.
You're going like this.
And that is, you promised that you would not take away vaccines from anyone who wanted them. You just changed the classification of the COVID vaccine.
I'm not taking them away from people, Senator.
It takes it away if you can't get it from your pharmacist.
Well, most Americans are going to be able to get it from their pharmacy for free.
$200.
That's what I told you. It was an explosive hearing today. A lot of blow-ups, a lot of yelling over each other. It's really a waste of time if you think about it. Nothing was accomplished. No new information was able to be articulated because Democrats spent more time trying to attack the president regarding Epstein files. And then they start to attack RFK Jr. by calling for his resignation. And none of it was really about the substance of what HHS is trying to accomplish here. Now, as relates to Elizabeth Warren's claims, what I find to be interesting is that I agree the COVID vaccine should not be recommended. The government shouldn't mandate it. The government shouldn't encourage people to take it. Now, if someone over the age of 65 believes, according to their doctor, that it's in their best interest to take it, go right on ahead. And they will have access to take it. That's why they go to their doctor to get it. Or they could go to their local pharmacy to get it. But this idea, it's the same idea with Social Security offices are going to close down. We're going to slip into a recession. It's going to be World War III. It's all Armageddon for Democrats.
Most Americans will be able to get it from their pharmacy
the
for free.
question is everyone who wants it. That was your promise.
I know I didn't. I never promised that I was going to recommend products with which there is no indication.
When you said,
and I know you've taken $855,000 from pharmaceutical companies, Senator.
Did you hold up a big sign saying that you were lying when you said that? Because you are the one who said you would not take them away. Now, Senator Kennedy,
I'm not taking them away from anybody.
Secretary,
you want me to indicate a product for which there is no clinical data?
Senator,
is that what you want?
Secretary Kennedy, you said you wouldn't, and now you did.
I'm not taking them away. Everybody can get access to them.
No, they can't walk into a pharmacy the way they could last month and get access.
It depends on the state. It depends on the states.
A year ago,
but they can still get it. Everybody can get it. Everybody can get it, Senator.
So I don't know what's worse. The fact that Elizabeth Warren believes that everyone wants to get the COVID vaccine. Think about that for a second. She believes people want to get an extra booster after witnessing what's taken place over the past few years after people got double vaxxed and double booster and all this other nonsense. And guys, I'm not attacking anyone who's received it, okay? If you received it and it worked for you, I applaud you. That's great, but there's a lot of people who say otherwise. It didn't help them. In fact, it made things worse for them. And we're not going to litigate that right now. But my point is that what's worse? Her implying that the American people want the COVID vaccine, or her not actually caring about the health of American citizens because she's been spending all this time attacking RFK Jr. instead of talking about something where they could collaborate to solve issues in regards to public health. Now, she wasn't the only one that had a blow up with RFK Jr. So did Bernie Sanders, and here's that clip.
Dr. Oz, Vinay Prasad.
So you got a few doctors who agree with you, and I'm giving you the
Not
name.
a few doctors. What you're talking about is there's a big difference, Senator, between established science and the scientific establishment, which has been co-opted by the pharmaceutical
hold on. So you're telling the American people that the American Medical Association, representing hundreds of thousands of people, have been co-opted and that they should not trust their doctors.
And I'm
the American Academy of Pediatrics, and by the way, just for the record, every single Republican, I don't mean to be political here, Mr. Chairman, has received PAC money from the pharmaceutical industry. Are they all corrupt as well?
And I'm telling you, the American Heart Association has been co-opted by the food
Everybody
industry.
but you, Senator. But you know what? When you ran for president, we have a corrupt campaign finance system. Maybe you will agree with me on that. Okay, you were already president, you got a billionaire behind it. You received $300,000 from people, not from the industry, people in it, as I did, from individuals. You corrupt. President Trump got $3 million. Every Republican got corporate PAC money for the pharmaceutical industry. Democrats as well. Everybody is corrupt, but you? Is that what we're looking at? I don't think so. And I think the issue now...
I don't even know what you're talking about.
All right, that was a really good exchange because Bernie Sanders finally tells the truth. Yeah, they're all corrupt. I know that. You should know that. You think I actually trust Republicans in Congress? Absolutely not. I look at the results, okay? And thanks to that ruling called Citizens United, pharmaceutical companies can continue to donate large amount of money in order to influence policies and, of course, elections. And that's exactly what's going on. And so that's why they hate RFK Jr. so much, because he literally represents everything they don't want to happen, not because it's a detriment on the American people. No, it's a detriment on their political career. It's a detriment on the brand and the word that they've been able to establish, where they say, trust the experts. And RFK is coming in there and he's blowing that up essentially. Now, it's not just my opinion that RFK Jr. is onto something. How does the American people feel about RFK Jr., including as pertains to getting vaccines? Well, CNN did a poll this morning, and here's what they came up with. Take a look.
You know, Harry, it's interesting. All morning long, I've been saying Secretary Kennedy could be the most embattled member of the cabinet. Fact check me here.
No, I think that's a false. That's a Daniel Dale fact check for you. False on that. What are we talking about here? Net favorable ratings of key Trump officials. Look at this. RFK Jr. ain't exactly popular, but he's the most popular of all the key officials that we have recent polling on. Pete Hegseth, his net favorable minus 14 points. J.D. Vance, minus 11. Marco Rubio, minus 10. RFK Jr. is at minus 7, but minus 7 beats minus 10, beats minus 11, beats minus 14. So, no, RFK Jr. is not a drag on President Trump. He's not the most embattled. In fact, he is the most popular official in Trump's cabinet, at least according to the polling.
It is interesting.
And you know what? I actually agree with that poll from CNN. And here's the reason why. I think out of everybody in the cabinet, RFK Jr. really doesn't have to accomplish much. He just has to get a couple of things right. Number one, he needs to get the pesticides out of our foods. If he can do that, chronic disease is going to drop significantly, okay? Because that's the problem. Haven't you guys ever heard of your friend or your family member, maybe yourself? You flew to Italy, you went to Europe, you ate the same food, but you lost 20 pounds. How does that exactly happen? It's because the food that we are eating in America is poisonous. I mean, literally, okay? Now, the second thing he has to get a handle on are the vaccines, particularly the CDC schedule as relates to children. Why are children receiving 72 doses of vaccines in the first 24 months of their lives? You didn't do that. If you're definitely older than me, you never got 72. I didn't get 72. People in the military don't even get 72. So why are we doing this to our children? And if he can solve those two issues, I think he's accomplishing something historic here. And only obviously results will tell that.
Okay, this to me is one of the most interesting and, in my opinion, most troubling trend lines that we have seen. Okay, vax kids against infectious diseases, the government should require it. You go back to 1991, it was 81%, okay? Then we go to 2019 at 62%. Look at where that number fell to by 2024. It was just 51%. That is a 30-point drop from 34 years ago. My goodness gracious. Now a bare majority say that the government should, in fact, require kids to be vaccinated against infectious diseases. Amongst Republicans, it's the opposite. The majority say the government shouldn't require it. Now, I should point out this does depend a little bit on question wording. The polling out this morning says that the government should encourage it, but encourage it is very different from requiring it. And when it comes to requiring it, the American public has become increasingly skeptical of the idea that, in fact, the government should require kids to be vaccinated against infectious diseases.
Striking that it's dropped to 51%, and you can't blame that on President Trump. You can't blame that on RFK Jr. It's the experts who actually have to accept the blame here. Take responsibility. They lied time and time again. And when you lie repeatedly, especially if you're in a position where what you're saying will lead to lives lost, there's going to be a problem with trust. I think that is to be clear. And that's why what happened on Capitol Hill earlier this morning is a sideshow, okay? The vice president put this up on X. When I see all these senators trying to lecture and gotcha Bobby Kennedy today, all I can think is this. You all support off-label, untested, and irreversible hormonal therapies for children, mutilating our kids and enriching Big Pharma. You're full of crap, and everyone knows it.
Yeah, this to me, if you're a public health official, this is perhaps the most worrying statistic that you should see. Look at this. Look at this. How well masks and vaccines limit COVID. Public health officials lied. They lied. In 2022, it was 45%. Look at where that number is now. 55% of Americans believe that public health officials lied about COVID, masks, and vaccines and their effectiveness.
What's interesting is I'm actually surprised that number isn't higher. Now, it's CNN conducting these polls, so I guess take that with a grain of salt. But listen, when you're supposed to be the person who is giving us the information we need to make these informed decisions, and you lie about the information, and in some cases, you make up the information, and then you go so far as to threaten us that if we don't follow this information you've given us, that we could be fired. I mean, that is just outrageous what the government did to people during COVID. But they say President Trump is the authoritarian leader. Is he threatening people that they will be fired, especially military personnel, especially doctors and nurses? Different industries all received the same threat, which was if you didn't take that COVID vaccine, you were going to lose out on your money, your benefits, and obviously your career. And so, yeah, I'm not surprised that number is what it is. But I guess my question for you is, do you believe that number is accurate or do you believe it's higher? Let me know in the comment section below. Now, I want to hear from you guys in the comment section to this video. Number one, do you support the work that RFK Jr. is doing? Yes or no? Regardless of what your answer is, explain why your answer is what it is. Secondly, what's your reaction to the governor of Illinois? This guy is so boneheaded. He's putting the people of Chicago, their lives at risk, including Mayor Johnson, by the way. And it's really on two fronts, immigration and crime. What do you think the people of Chicago should do as a result of all of this? And finally, what's your take on Portland? I mean, it's pretty much a hellhole. It's exactly what President Trump was describing in regards to DC, when really he should have been describing Portland. The local police department does not want to intervene in protests that are turning violent or being disruptive because it's all about protesting ICE and President Trump. And the local police is fine with that. What is your reaction to that? Just put all your thoughts in the comment section below. Now we're going to move to our next video that you're going to want to check out. And this is about President Trump continuing to outmaneuver Democrats as they try to push back on President Trump deploying National Guard troops, cracking down on crime, and also continuing to deport the worst of the worst. So if you're interested in that story and more from yesterday, all you have to do is click on that video because it's coming up right now.